those the only services that were reviewed?
Was not the only services. According to the speech and according to my knowledge, Selby Park was one of the services that was rendered by outsourced companies, which was closed. And that's why we had the speech saying, we have already closed Selby, we are working towards closing Life Esidimeni, but we started with 20%.
I see. What other measures did the department consider to improve the finances, its finances? Do you know?
My unit is still mental health unit, so I wouldn't know. But what I know is that like in every family, you need to use resources effectively and efficiently.
So in respect of the services that were outsourced to Life Esidimeni, you came up with a project which was intended to close down Life Esidimeni. Am I correct?
The leadership came out with the project.
Yes, when I say you, I mean the department.
Okay, yes.
Can you tell us whose baby was it? Who came up with the idea? Do you know?
Okay, like I've indicated, as the director for mental health, having heard where the department's direction is your responsibility to support the department. It was set by the executive, and then they set it at a higher level, we have to implement it. So that's what I can say.
Can you please clarify what you mean by executive?
Executive, I'm saying people from chief director upwards. They are the executive. They've got meetings which I may not sit in unless I'm invited.
But you had to implement it as the director?
I had to be part of the committee and the team that implement it.
Yes, and the consequence of the project was to terminate the contract between the department and Life Esidimeni.
Yes.
If you could, if someone could assist you to go to file number 2. Page 552. And that will be a letter in terms of which the services between the Department of Health and Life Esidimeni was terminated. Are you on page 552?
Still looking.
The numbering appears on top at the right corner.
There is no 552 in this. It's 550, and the next one is 557.
We will assist you.
Okay. It's the next one. 552 is after 557. I found it.
Oh, you found it?
Yes.
Yes. Is that the letter in terms of which the services between the Department of Health and Life Esidimeni were terminated?
I agree. It's the letter.
Yes. If you go to page 554, there's a signature there of Dr. Silibano, and the date is 29 September 2015.
That's correct.
You do confirm that was the date when the letter was concluded, when it was signed? Do you confirm?
Yes.
At this stage, were you the project manager, or was it Mr. Mosinochi?
There was no project yet. It was a task team. We were still working as task team because of the 20% I told you earlier. So at that time, there was no one who was a project manager, and I was not yet appointed project deputy manager.
Yes. When did you become the project deputy manager?
I'm not sure of the date because I don't have some of the information, but immediately when Mr. Musenuri was appointed, I was appointed as the project deputy manager.
Mr. Msinoki gave evidence that he was appointed in November.
Yes, it means I was a deputy project manager. I've alluded earlier that we started as task team, only mental health care unit professional in the province, my unit and the hospital psychiatrist and other multidisciplinary team. At that time, before that time, we were still, including Life Esidimeni, we're still working as task team.
All that I want to establish is in September 2015, when the services were terminated between the department and Life Esidimeni, was the task team, did it have a plan on what to do with the patients that would now be moved from Life Esidimeni? That's what I want to establish.
Yes, we were still working on the plan. The plan, the very same plan that we developed early the 2015, we're still working on it. And that's the plan that further was circulated to the project team members for their input and came up with the name as I've indicated earlier.
What was the plan in respect of the patients now that would be moved out of Life Esidimeni at the end of the contract?
Okay. The plan, like I was saying, I was coming to the plan. Let me give you the plan. The plan,
if I may assist you, if someone could give you file number 8. On page 2789, there is a project plan. Thank you. 2789.
Okay.
Are you on page 27? Is that the plan that you are referring to?
Yes.
If you go to page 2824.
2824.
Yes. It's signed 30 September 2015 by Dr. M.J. Manamela. Would that be you?
I beg your pardon, can you repeat
Page
back?
2824.
2824.
In other words, you go to the project plan and just run with it until you get to its end, which is on 2824.
Yes.
It says compiled by Dr. M.J. Manamela, Deputy Project Manager.
Yes.
Would that be you? And it appears that you signed on the 30th of September 2015.
Yes.
And then it's countersigned by Mr. El Musinohi in October 2016. And it's approved by Dr. Silibano in October 2016.
Yes.
Yes. So is that the plan that you are referring to?
Yes, it's the plan I'm referring to.
Now, what I want to, if you could take us through the plan. Now, the most important thing that I wanted to establish in respect of the plan is, isn't it now you had sent a letter of termination to Life Esidimeni?
Okay.
At that point in time, how many mental health care users were at Life Esidimeni?
I'm not quite sure of the number, but we had around 1.7 mental health care users.
Yes. Obviously, when you terminated the contract with Life Esidimeni, you had to have a plan on what to do with those patients.
Yes, we had a plan.
Yes. Please take us through the plan.
Okay. Like I said to you, the plan started as a task team. It was a continuation.
Yes.
When we left, I was talking about the involvement of the NGO. I think I'm not going back to that.
Yeah, maybe if once you're talking about the NGOs, if you could assist us, because there's evidence before this tribunal that there were existing NGOs who were working with the departments, and then there were also new NGOs who became involved at a later stage. So when you said you had a meeting with the NGOs, which one were you referring to?
Okay, when we called the meeting, we called the meeting through the district because the NGOs falls within the district, and they invited the people. And in those NGOs, as our own, as province, we had to ensure that other stakeholders are invited by us. So the NGO included the old NGO and any other person who might listen, because it was already in the air that there will be a termination. So I couldn't check which NGO is not represented. But from the NGOs that we had on that meeting of November, we checked if they are represented. And then even people who were not NGO, who were there, we have got documents that indicate who came to the meeting.
Yes.
Yes, and the old and the new NGO people who will come. It's like when we finish with the meeting, people will talk and tell other people that department is ending contracts, they will need beds. And we made it clear that we are not forcing you, NGO, because we called people that we know, that they are in our data, on our database. If you feel you can expand, we will welcome that. If you cannot, it's still your decision because you are not appointed by the department.
When did you have the first meeting with the NGOs?
I believe the first meeting was 13 November, if I'm not mistaken.
Which year?
2015.
Yes. So in September, what was the plan before you met with the NGOs when you terminated the contract? You were still taking us through the plan.
Maybe let me explain to you what do we mean by this letter. Termination of contract, that was a notice. It doesn't mean that the contract was already ended. It was a notice to say by the end of March 2016, we will have no more patients from the state to Life Esidimeni.
Yes.
So that was just a notice according to service level agreement that must be given 6 months before. So before that, as we have started 2014-15 financial year, which ended in March, we carried on. And then when these project managers, project team members are appointed from different areas rather than psychiatric services, they found us already in the process of planning for the beds or planning where do we take the patient. For example, renovation of hospital. We check which hospital can we renovate because we knew there can be patients who still need to be in a hospital. Which NGO can we use? Like when we don't have NGO, that's why I mentioned there were 5 unoccupied hospitals that are no longer being in use, that we identify. That's why we had people from the department who are working in infrastructure. And
yes,
that's
which are those hospitals? It
was Jimiston Hospital, it was Natal Spirit Hospital, it was Pinar, it's a crash, and the other 2 I think I've forgotten, but we identify them and invite our infrastructure, or there is the TMR somewhere towards Johannesburg. All the unused building of health are the ones that we identified. And as we have identified them, we wanted to check if they can be renovated or it will be too costly. That's why we had infrastructure people. And those were in the plan, because this plan, until it's signed, it was a draft, because we couldn't conclude it. We didn't have even project manager. We kept on making it as a draft. And people who didn't know, even those who were against termination, use it. We had use it to go to the media and say they are going to throw the patient in the street while we were trying. At the end of the day, those buildings we didn't use because we are mental health practitioners. We have got infrastructure.
I'm not sure what question we're answering now, Doctor.
Okay.
I ask you again, please listen to the evidence leader. We're trying to get the tale as logical as we can, recorded. I just want you to listen to it carefully and give answers. You're going to have ample opportunity to defend whatever decisions you might have made. But for now, it's a recorder of what happened. That is where we are.
Thank you, Justice.
Counsel?
If I may just break it down, Dr. Manamela, the first point is what was the plan in respect of the 1,700 patients that you said were at Life Esidimeni? So from what you said, it seems like you intended to send them to the NGOs.
Not
Some
only,
of them, yes.
my
That's
apology.
what we want to
Some
find out.
of them will go to the NGO. I mentioned that some will go to the hospital, our psychiatric hospital, and some will be discharged as the family. If the family are willing, number one. Number two, they might be willing and unable because of the condition of the patient. So those were the things that we planned to do.
That you considered, yes. Now, in respect of the ones that you were going to send to the NGOs, what steps did you take to ensure that the NGOs are ready, if any?
Okay, thank you. Like I said to you, the first step was to call the NGO that we have got relationship with, service level agreement, and those that we know they are licensed by myself actually at that time, and present this plan to them and identify how many NGO can expand and how many NGOs are still having empty beds. That's the first step. The second step was for us to say, these NGOs, if we have to have a new NGOs, we know what we need to do is to assess the NGO, evaluate them. We called the second meeting. I don't remember the date because I don't have the laptop. We called the second meeting through the district to say, let them all come to the district.
If I may just interject, you mentioned something important. You said you also needed to assess them if they are ready.
Yes.
Did you assess them?
Yes, we assessed them.
How did you assess them?
I'm trying to go through that. The way we assess them, we use the normal assessment route. We also, because the project was a special project and we didn't want to err or put the life of the patient in danger, we developed the strategy called NGO Marathon.
Can you please take us through the assessment project? What does it entail?
Okay, assessment project entails, we have got a format that we use. We go to the NGO and check the infrastructure, and check the staff, and check if they are registered, and check how the building are, and check what is it that the NGO is interested to provide, what type of service, because some mentally ill patients who are severely mentally disabled may not go to where they may be in a specific area, and others will be those who are mentally ill, specific area too. Some will be schizophrenia, some will be due to drug-induced. So we assess those things.
So did that happen in all the NGOs that were involved?
Yes, the NGOs that we were involved, it happened. Because now you are...
When was this? When did you assess them? Do you know?
Okay. I was thinking I will take you through the process, what we have done with the new NGO, because you asked that. The new NGOs were called to the meeting, and then those who are interested had to be visited. Then we did visit them, and then...
Do you have a list of the NGOs who attended the meeting of
Yes, Chief Justice. We do have the list.
Where is that list?
It's in my confiscated laptop, but I do have some of the list here on my presentation, on what I drafted.
I'm interested in the list, and if you, not now, when
Okay.
this evening, when you stop, your evidence stops, if you could give it to somebody, the evidence giver, so they can make copies
Yeah.
of the NGOs who attended the meeting 13th November 2015.
Okay.
And will the list show which ones you already had a relationship and which ones were new? Will it show that?
No, the list will not show that because everybody who came to the meeting, including the Life Esidimeni, they were
Yes.
there in that meeting. They will sign attendance register, which I believe I have. If I don't have, my office have that attendance register.
Okay, that's
Yes,
very
you
good.
can get that.
Okay, proceed, Counsel.
Thank you, Justice. Yes, we are still on the assessment. The question was, did you assess them? And if you did, when?
Yes, we did assess them. I don't know if I can just check. I'm not quite sure of the
You may,
date.
you may.
Yes. We assessed them. I didn't have all the list of the document of what has been assessed. But as far as I know, we didn't place patient where we didn't assess. We assessed all the NGO, and towards the end, I said NGO marathon. The engineers, the mental health team from my office, mental health team from the district, psychiatrists in the district were and the families of mental health care users committee joined in the strategy called NGO Marathon Project. That's the project that they joined. And then apart from that,
What
the
do you mean
format-
they joined the project? You
They
mean
we developed the NGO marathon strategy that
Yes.
the UMBA's mistaken as the project. That was to expedite, to ensure that the NGOs where the mental ill patient from Life Esidimeni will be sent
Yes.
is being assessed by this team, not only multidisciplinary team like we used to do. Under normal circumstances, it's only mental health care practitioners who will visit the NGO and assess them on a yearly basis. But for the sake of this process, we developed that so that the engineers of all kinds who knows the structure, the electricity, they can also join and go with us and assist us in assessing the NGO. So we use two types of process.
Maybe let me ask this question this way. The assessment, was it done after or before you issued the licenses to the NGOs?
We have done the assessment in most areas before we issue it's done before we issue the license. Every year, the district is doing the assessment of
Were
the
you
NGO.
satisfied that the NGOs will be able to provide the services?
They were assessed, and when they assessed, I get the report, I get the license, I don't prepare the license. Even the new NGO, I get their budget from the district, and then they send it to my office. If there are queries, I call the NGO manager in my office, or I send my team to go and find out.
Let's be a little more concrete, though. Look, you held a meeting.
Yes.
You developed a strategy
Yes,
called Project Marathon,
NGO marathon. strategy.
NGO Marathon.
Yes,
And the purpose was to facilitate checking on the facilities offered by each NGO.
yes.
Who would go out to the NGO to make that examination
Okay.
or that inspection?
Okay.
Let's
The
keep it short so
the
they can make
district-
progress. Yeah.
district mental health team will go out. My team in some areas will go out. From my office, I had 5 DDs. And the members of the family, they went out. Family committee, let me put it specifically. And, excuse me, other psychiatrists.
Who? There are a lot of it's that's loaded, okay. But let's start off with the district people. Did they file reports after their
Yes, they submitted.
Inspection?
Yes, after the inspection, they submit that we have assessed this NGO. Even those that are okay, they are assessed every year. Those that were new also were assessed. They file a report to us. But again, for this project, I also say the NGO leader in my office must be into those NGOs also to assist. So they were assessed, and the report was sent, and then the license prepared and the budget prepared.
Would you issue any license without an assessment?
No, I cannot issue any license without an assessment.
And do you assure me under oath that every single license you issued was done after an inspection report was filed with you?
The license that were sent to me, I'll assure you, Chief Justice, that the people assess the place and then they develop that request for the licenses. And my office, the NGO manager, did the licenses for me to sign.
Let me try again, ma'am. Do you assure me that you, who acted as a licensing officer in relation to every NGO, which presumably was part of the NGO Marathon project, had been inspected and a report had been filed setting out the conditions of the NGO?
Yes, Council, the report were filed.
And you saw them and studied them, did you?
Yes,
Before you signed the license?
I saw them, although I didn't see all the NGOs, but the report, I saw the report.
So whether we're talking of Precious Angels, or Takalani, or Enka, or Siabadinga, or name it, you received reports that set out the conditions of these NGOs that were to receive patients?
Not all of them. Now, I'm not diffusing what I just said, because Siabadinga was not one of the NGOs that was identified. The NGO that was identified was outstepped. Baba Talifate, I don't know how I put it. Then they were sent, then the Siabadinga was pushed in. The relevant NGO, which we took along through the meetings, through the training, were sent out and they put the Siabadinga. But the building where Siabadinga was assessed.
I'm sure they'll get to those details for a moment. Mine was the initial generic question, which says, once a license is issued, am I entitled to accept that you caused the inspection to be done? It was done. You saw the report of the inspection, and you issued the license. Let's stop there. I need an answer there. Is that how it happened?
I believe so, Judge.
Counsel.
Thank you, Justice. If I may refer you, for example, the NGO that the Justice made an example of, it's file number 7. And the license appears on page 2397. That will be Precious Angels.
Come again, Council?
Page 2397. And that's the license that was signed by you. Do you confirm? 2397.
the right top corner, there would be
Yes.
printed black numbers,
I-
2397.
Yes, I found it.
Council refers you to the page. Thanks, Dr. Baramen.
That's the license that was issued to Precious Angels. Do you confirm the signature appearing at the bottom to be your signature?
Yes.
Yes. And it was issued on the first day of April 2016. Do you confirm that?
First day of
At the
April.
bottom. That's what it
Yes.
states at the bottom, yes. And the address where they were supposed to be operating from is Linwood Road, Tigerville, Pretoria. Do you see that? That will be the third line from the top,
Yes,
yes.
I
Do you
see
confirm
it.
that? Yes. And now the evidence before this arbitration is that they were actually not operating from that address. They were operating in Archridgeville.
I would put it differently, Council. I want to know from the witness, did her people go to this place to inspect it? And if so, I'd like to see the report of the inspection.
Yes.
I don't want to lead the witness. I want to know what happened. Did her
So-
inspectors go to Tiger Valley in Pretoria on Linwood Road? And if so, could she lead me to the report that they filed?
Okay, thank you, Justice.
Yes, certainly.
Firstly, let me start with the first day of April that the NGO are authorized to start operating for the period of financial year. That's number one. This place, Linwood Road, where they were not operating, when we realized there were challenges after some times at Precious Angels, Precious Angels had already had patient. Then we found that they cannot keep the patient there. So my team from Tshwane and the head office were informed by Precious Angels that we have found another place. That's when they went to assess that place. And they came.
So you are in essence saying that initially Precious Angels were operating from Tigerville.
I'm not saying initially. Later, when there were challenges at Precious Angels, they had to find the spaces, another space, which they found at this, and this place was
Doctor, I
assessed.
don't understand all that. Your evidence was your team had the duty to indeed go to NGO premises. They inspected them. They filed with you a report. You reviewed the report and you issued a license. Just help me understand what's happening in relation to the license on page 2397 signed by you.
Okay, thank you, Chief Justice. Can I say, during the process of a financial year, when we found that there are challenges in the NGO, it's either we'll close the NGO or the NGO will find another space. So this report, I remember very well. My team and the ones at Tshwane went when we found that Precious Angels had challenges. Then the name was changed to where the patients are going.
Mengaka, in two I'm asking you, did your people go to Linwood Road, Tiger Valley, Pretoria to inspect the premises reflected on the license?
Yes, they went.
And what did they find there?
They
Did
said-
they compile a report?
They compiled a report.
Can you guide us to the report? and
I
its
don't
copy?
have the report. It was in the office, but I know they went and they compiled the report. I saw the report that they went and then they compiled a license. But license, because this lady had already have patients, will be
How does she have
rewrite
patience
as that.
before the license? We can get there. They can ask you those questions. I just wanted to see how consistent your procedure was by the time you issued the license. And in this case, it's quite an important NGO, as you know by now.
If I may assist Justice, there is a report that appears on the same file, page 2, it starts from page 2494. In relation to Precious Angels. Have you found the document, Dr. Manamela?
Yes, Council.
Do you see the date of visit on the report?
Yes, I see the.
Would
the
that
date.
be the report that you were referring to?
No, it's not the report you are referring to.
What is this report?
This report was for follow-up after we have placed the patient. That's the report that will tell us how the patients are doing. But the assessment report will be specific. This was just a general report written by the person delegated to manage Precious Angels. So
If you go to 2503, there's a different report, 2503. Would that be the report?
no, the address is not the one. It's not the report. Because here we talk about the Linwood Road, Tiger Valley, Pretoria. This one is still where they were.
Those are the only reports that we have in respect of Precious Angels. In actual fact, Ethel Ngube, the owner of Precious Angels, gave evidence here. He never operated at Tiger Valley.
Yes, you are very correct, Council. She never operated there because for us to say we wanted to take away the patient from her unless she has got another place. So she identified the Tiger Valley. My team went and evaluated the Tiger Valley. Before we can move the patient to Tiger Valley, there were some challenges and we couldn't do it. So meaning that she was planning to move the patient from this place to the licensed one.
What were those challenges at Tiger Valley?
No, I haven't been to Tiger Valley, but there were no challenges. The challenges were where she was accommodating the patients. That's where we found that, no, she needed to move from that place to another place, or we are going to take the patient. We had two options, and that's what we always did with the NGO where we found they've got problems.
Also, you encountered these challenges after you had issued the license?
Not after.
Before?
The challenges were encountered before, and then she identified another place to say, it's fine, you are saying I've got challenges. I'm going to move this patient from here to Tiger Valley. And my team from the district had to, and the manager in my office had to go and assess that Tiger Valley. And when they come back, they write a report, then together with the license, then they presented it to me, then I signed.
But you signed the license when she already had patients?
Because the one where she was having a patient were also signed. But that is when we now has to move the patient. We sign another license.
Are you referring to patients that were moved from Life Esidimeni?
Okay. This is how the system works. Can I be allowed to present the system? When we identify the NGO, or we've placed the patients in the NGO, and later during the process of the financial year, there are challenges in that NGO, we are left with two choices. It's either we close the NGO, take the patient to the better NGO or anywhere where they will be safe or whatever. Then, that's point number one. Point number two, the NGO, because they are not following with us, within the department, they can identify another place and say to us, I understand the challenges I'm having. I'm going to move I'm willing, if you go and assess, to move my patient to a new place. Then we go there and assess, and that is what happened with Precious
No, I
Angels.
still don't understand. I don't know what you're saying to us, Dr. Manamel. When you signed the license in favor of Precious Angels at specified premises on Linwood Road, had your people been there?
Yes.
And
They
found,
gave a report that the place is suitable.
You see, Ms. Ngube was here,
Eh.
and she denies that she ever was at that premises. That
She
she
has-
never occupied the premises.
Yes, she never.
Ever.
Yes, she never. She's right. She never occupied the premises.
Okay, now you
but
must-
she
you must
gave
tell
us
me
the name
Why
and
you
the
would
place.
issue a license to a premise that was never occupied by the applicant?
She told us she was supposed to occupy the premises. It's like Chief Justice. If I want to buy a house and the deal fall off, then I cannot
No,
be.
but you can't
I'm
say
just
that.
giving
You
that.
can't say that.
Yes, but that's what she said to us. When we found their problems, we said we are taking away the patient, and then she went out and found another place. And then we said we can't take our patient there.
You take
before-
away patients from where?
From where she was in Pretoria.
She never was here.
Yes.
And you issued a license to operate at a place which she never occupied. So
Yes.
my simple question is, how did that happen?
That's what I'm trying to explain, Judge Justice. That what happened was that she was planning to take the patient there. Because our rules say you can't place the patient where there is no license.
Let's
Our
forget
team,
about the patients for a moment.
Okay.
I thought you never issue licenses unless the place is inspected.
It was inspected. And then we couldn't move the patient, but it was inspected.
She says he never ever was there.
I don't know then, because that's the report was given by the district and my office manager that Precious Angels, because I was worried about them, she said, no, they found another venue. I said, go and evaluate it. After you evaluated it, then we'll
Where is the
license them.
report you know that you used to issue the license?
I beg your pardon?
Where is the report in relation to Tiger Valley on Linwood Road in Pretoria that you used to issue the license?
I don't have it with me. It was
If I
in
may
the
assist
office.
Justice, file number 8, page 2765. Though it seems like it's a minute of a meeting, but it does talk about assessment.
2675.
2765. Would that be the assessment that you issued the license based on, or there's a different one?
Page 2765.
Yes.
This is the meeting that we had in my office with the new NGOs or NGOs and NGOs that are going to expand and have more bids. It's not evaluation. This was in my office. We met the 21 first session, we met the second session, and then we met all the Esidimeni, then we met Johannesburg as the third session. We didn't have new NGOs, most of them in Johannesburg. So this was a meeting. It's the minutes of the meeting and things that we wanted. from the
If you go to page 2767 of the same document,
Oh, yes.
maybe whilst you're on 2765, it says, the purpose of the meeting is to assess the readiness of the NGOs to take users from Life Esidimeni in terms of their capacity, like staff, actual beds availability, and the space. Each NGO was asked to present to the team the status of their NGOs. And then if you go to page 2767, you will see the name of the NGOs, and Precious Angels is one of the NGOs that's listed there.
Okay.
Are you there? And then
Yes.
it says Precious Angels, number of actual beds, 150, no actual beds. This was now in February 2016, 22 Feb 2016.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
in February 2016, Precious Angels didn't have beds.
That's correct. And as I was going to take you about the event, you will understand why. But can I say, at the moment, these were the NGOs that were identified by the district as the new NGO from their district.
Yeah.
Then-
the point is Dr. Manamela, is that on the 22nd of February 2016, Precious Angels did not have beds.
Yes.
We showed you the 3 documents which we wanted to find out if those were the assessment, and you said they were not assessment. And then in April, you issued them with a license to take 150 patients at Tigerville. That's the point. And the point is that, according to Ethel Ngube, the owner of Precious Angels, she never operated at Tigerville. That's
Yes.
the essence of the question.
Yes. Did she tell you the reason for not operating there?
That's what we were trying to find out. However, you seem to suggest that she had patients where she was, and you threatened to remove the patients unless she found a better place. And then she gave you a better place, being the Tigerville place. And then,
Yes.
but the question that Justice was trying to find out is, how is that possible that she had patients before she was issued with a license?
No, where she was issued with the license. Maybe it was not given to you. She had license in the 2 facilities she had in Pretoria. But when we found that there are areas of challenges, she started to go, I'm going to look for another place. And my team went and assessed. Those 2 places she had in Pretoria was licensed, was assessed.
But those have nothing to do with Life Esidimeni, right?
No, they had Life Esidimeni. She
Okay.
had the 3rd one where that has nothing to do with Life Esidimeni.
Okay, let's get back, though, to what we were about. Page 2767, Council refers you to the minute of a meeting that you chaired. Is that right?
Yes,
That meeting was on the 22nd of February 2016.
yes, Council.
In fact, you prepared the minute, or you were the chairperson of the meeting. And the advocate referred you to page 2767.
Yes,
Can you see what he said, Precious Angel?
yes,
Could you read it out into the record, Doctor?
yes. They say 150 number of beds, no actual beds.
So quoted
And I
there in
can-
a meeting that you chaired,
Yes.
that Precious Angels had no ever was there. So why don't you just explain to me how that happened?
Thank you, Justice. Judge Justice. That's what I'm trying to say. How that happened. And it didn't start then. It used to happen that way. When an NGO has beds and patients, and during the process, we have got 3 monthly evaluation visiting the NGO. During the process, we realized there are problems in the NGO. We have got 2 options, to close the NGO or the NGO find another place. So Ethel told my team at Swan that she has found another place. And they told me, I said, okay, as this is what we are doing, go and assess the new place. They went and assessed the new place. When we get the new place assessment, we transfer the license to the new place. That's what has happened, and that's what has been happening.
Go back to page 397. You issued the license for severe, profound intellectual disability. Had Ethel Ngube ever worked with that category of mental health care users? You gave me 4 looks so far.
Yes, Chief Justice, because she has another NGO where she's working with people with intellectual disability. So that's why I was looking at you, because when she came, and that NGO has been funded and supported by the department. So now she came as one of the NGOs that operated but want to expand. Unfortunately, she used a new name. So I didn't know until when there were problems, when I asked, that she has another NGO funded, long ago managed well. That's why the district, so that she can manage the patient.
I'm sure all these advocates will be on your case. They'll ask you questions. Let me let you go.
Thank you. Just before we...
They will continue. I've no doubt we could deal with this forever. But I just keep that in mind. This is not an exercise on how clever one can be. You know how many people died at Precious Angel?
I know.
Do you know, Dr. Maname?
Yes, I know. I know, Justice.
Continue.
Just 2 last points on the issue of licenses. Dr. Malema, the reason we are asking you these questions is because the Ombud stated that you did not have the authority to issue the licenses. Did you have the authority to issue the licenses?
Yes, Counsel, I had the authority to issue the license. I will say that because the Act has covered me, and the Act has no way indicating who should issue the license. But the previous Act was indicating who should issue license. And the same information I have told or given to the professor, that I'm covered in terms of the Mental Health Care Act on how to issue the license. It says the provincial consent. It never said the HOD or the MEC will delegate someone. But there are areas where the Act spell out a delegation must be done. For example, in case where...
Sorry, if I may just interject. There's a blue file there in front of you. The blue file contains the policy and the Act. Okay. If you could just take us to the relevant section of the Act.
If I could take you to the relevant section of the Act. I think I have it summarized here.
You want to refer the witness to the section?
Justice...
she's got it on her iPad already, so let's go ahead.
There is no provision for her to sign the license on the Act. She says it's in terms of the Act.
Well, she says the Act does not preclude her. So is your proposition that the Act precludes her?
If I may come to one, Justice, I will come back to the Act. If I may refer the witness to the annexures, there's Annexure ELA 26, which was another license which was issued to Precious Angels on the same day that she issued a license to Precious, and this time it was signed by Dr. Silibano. And that's the license that Ms. Ethel Ngube provided to this arbitration. Ella 26.
Okay.
You would note that on that license, she was authorized to operate from Kalafong Hospital premises. And the license was issued on the same day that you had issued yours.
Okay.
What was the reason for her to have two licenses? Did you intend to give her 300 patients?
Can I explain like I did? That when we issue a license, the license will cover a financial year period. That's why you see this has been licensed. These were supposed to be for the patient that she already had. And at the time of Kalafong, let me pause a little bit and explain to Kalafong to you.
So if I may just correct you on the patients that she had, her evidence was that she was running a daycare center.
Yes.
Are you referring to those patients?
No, they are not the one for Kalafong. I want to take you through the Kalafong issue because it will come out in many NGOs. The Kalafong issue. Kalafong Nurses Home was one of the 5 government buildings which we thought or we planned from the testing process to accommodate the patient. And when these people were coming to our meeting, they were informed that there is an unused building in Kalafong. So they went to Kalafong. And when we did the NGO marathon, we checked because we were in the advantage of, we had the advantage of the engineer. We checked the inside. We thought everything is okay. But when they went all around to check the building, they found that the structural part outside is not suitable that we can let. And that building was being used. No, it was before we issued. I think it was before we used we have issued the license. I'm not quite sure. I think I'm mixing the two.
Yeah, because then if you say it was before, then why did you issue the license anyway?
I think I'm not quite sure here. I'm not quite sure that it was before, but the NGO marathon continued until the end of May. So I'm not quite sure of the date. But because the date, this day of April, covers the financial year. That's how it was put as this day of April. And when the district submitted, they were not yet being informed about the structurals outside that the engineer has discovered. So then when we discovered that, we abandoned the issue of Kalafong. It was Precious Angels, Anchor, Shilobo, there were 4 NGOs who were supposed to use that place.
But you miss it, don't you? You really miss the question put to you. Why do you issue a license about Kalafong which turns out never to be operational?
I think this was just an error, HOD, because the person who was preparing the license, I think she just took it from
How could you allow somebody to operate under the guise of the law, to look after mental health care users, and you have never been there to make sure the building works? How did that happen? Just a mistake?
No, it's the mistake of writing Kalafong Hospital, because that is a human error, I believe.
How does that mistake happen when your procedure... Listen, doctor.
Okay.
How does that mistake happen when your procedure was set out to us so clearly?
Yes, because...
Your people go and inspect first, isn't it?
I will say...
How did that happen?
I will say, how did that happen, Chief Justice? I'm not quite sure, and I may not be able to answer, but when the district submit their budget request, normally after the assessment, they also look how many number of patients need to be in that area. I believe this was just a human error, because by that time, the patient for Precious Angels were never in Kalafong.
You know, we've had Ms. Ngube come and talk to us. She intended to operate there.
Yes, intended.
She even started doing initial renovations.
Yes,
So
true.
what human error are you talking about?
I think maybe when
She
they...
was issued a license even before she occupied the premises. And she was given patience before she had any premises, certainly not colorful. You understand what I'm trying to get from you?
I understand, Chief Justice.
As a matter of law, how do you issue to her a license about premises in Kalafong, about 150 mental health care users, and the premises don't even exist, let alone an inspection report? What kind of error is that?
No, the inspection report disqualified the use of Kalafong as the NGO. All the people who were supposed to go to Kalafong were disqualified. They were staying at home. We told them clearly that you cannot use Kalafong and you can look for other places.
And your superior issues a license for exactly the same premises, which are disqualified. How does that happen?
Like I said, Chief, I think it was a human error. They should have taken out the Kalafong.
Just the last part on the licensing, Dr. Manamela. If you go to file 1, please, page 24 of the bundle. It's page 19 of the actual report. That will be the report of the Ombuds. Page 24. Item 5.2.6.
Item
5.2.6. It reads, some facilities were found to be operating without a valid license on investigation, e.g. Mosigo, Hebziba, Tagalani, and Shapin. Were you aware of any NGOs that received patients from Life Esidimeni and who did not have a license or a valid license?
No.
One of them was Siabadinga.
Oh. Yes, Siabadinga received the patient without valid license. That's the only NGO. Like I said to this proceedings that Siabadinga took the space of Love Disciples, which was licensed. And that's why they were operating without license. And they further said they are using Love Disciple license, and that was illegal. And they even fought with us because they were not part of the NGO marathon. When we went there for the last time to say Kalinen can be used, we knew that the NGO that is going to use the place was Love Disciples. Siabadinga was the only NGO that operated without license that I signed.
5.2.7, Mosigo's license was invalid because the number of patients received, in brackets 181, was not aligned to the license capacity of 171. Were you aware of this?
I think the license was issued, but they didn't, apparently when the Ombuds went there, didn't find that license. Because maybe I need to tell you, to give you the procedure. After I told you from the beginning, after the assessment and the rest, when I signed the license are given to the NGO manager who's taking them to the district. We are not moving from head office to go and issue license to the NGO. So the license to the NGOs are issued by the district. So it might be appearing that I'm not sure.
By the district?
Yes, district.
What do you mean, doctor?
I mean, we have 5 districts in Gauteng. Every district has got chief director. but they are supported from the province. So in terms of the NGO in the district, there are roles for the district and there are roles for the province. One of the provincial role was to...
No, simply, does any district office issue licenses?
They issue licenses that were signed by head office. We sign them, then we give it to the district, they take it to the NGO.
No, but do they authorize anybody to?
They don't authorize, we authorize from head office.
Mosigo and El Shaddai were requested by the Gauteng Department of Health to accommodate more patients than the number stipulated in their licenses. And they were promised that the licenses would be amended accordingly, which was never done. Do you wish to comment?
No, I won't comment because with this one I know every NGO we gave license from head office. And we know for sure at times that when we went to the NGO not find the license, we found that some of the coordinators are still have to issue those licenses.
Now, the point is that the department requested the NGOs to take more than they were licensed to take.
No, especially...
Did you request the NGOs to take more patients?
No, we didn't request them. We informed them that if they would like to expand, they are willing to do that, we'll appreciate. For example, I told you that we didn't even have one single NGO that expanded in Johannesburg for reasons that they were influenced not to give the department beds.
So this is not true in essence?
Yeah, every NGO, this is not true. Every NGO that we gave patient, it was on their will. It was never on ours asking them to do that.
But strange enough, this corresponds with the evidence of Siabadinga, Ms. Noyile, as well as Enka. They also confirmed that there was a bus that came with patients and you were there, and you didn't know what to do with the patients, and you asked them to take some of the patients.
Which NGO?
Enka and Siabadinga.
I didn't know what to do with the patient.
Yes.
That is untrue. That is untrue.
There were 38 patients, to be precise, in the bus.
Okay. All right. It's like if I took you through the role of the NGO, you'll have understood what happened. The anchor is one of the NGO who were supposed to occupy Kalafong Hospital. Then they didn't occupy Kalafong because they were assessed of the staff and other things, except they don't have a building. Just like other NGO that had building but didn't have staff. So when we found that we renovated Kalinen, by the way. Kalinen was renovated for 100 beds, specifically for this process. Now, when Siabadinga was there illegally, we couldn't just say go out now. We have to go and analyze and check what is it, why are they there. So in the process, they said they can only accommodate 73 patients that they have. At that time, 5 of them were on leave of absence. And they were using one ward as a laundry, throwing as a dustbin, throwing things. So during the placement process, we developed 3 teams. The team that will ensure that the NGO where the patients are going is according to the standard. So the NGO team, as they went to Kalinen, they found that, as I said about the ward, and 100 bed has been renovated using over 10 million money. And then now that one ward that is not occupied, the other one was the one they used as throwing all the dead. Then they phoned me and say, we can have more beds in this NGO if the NGO that is there will allow the patient. Then I said to them, that NGO, I started to phone that NGO, only to find that, like I said, it was a new NGO. And the CEO said, this NGO is not...
What NGO was that? What was the
that was the Siabadinga. The Love Disciples, if you look at the licenses, they were to get 100 patients.
What question are we answering now, Council? Where are we?
Justice, the question was that there was a bus with 38 patients, and you were at Cullinan, and you requested Enka and Siabadinga to take those patients. You didn't know what to do with those patients.
No, the fact that we didn't know what to do with that patient was untrue. Because they were planned. I was at the Randfontein on the last day when these patients were moving, and when they were getting into their bus, and when they were there, we followed them because they were the last batch of number of patients that went there. We followed them, and when we were there, we found that is before, after everything, problems
So
with
your short answer is that no, there was no bus with 38 patients that was at Cullinan.
There was,
and you did not ask Siabadinga and Enka to take the patients.
I don't agree with the statement that I didn't know what to do with the patient. That's what I don't agree.
Okay, let's test how well you knew what to do with these patients. On your plan, which patients were you going to take to which location? Let's start there.
Okay. The plan, now we're talking, Chief Justice, with
Yes.
due respect, is about implementation now.
It's about
placement.
It's about
placement now of patients.
Yes.
Yes. The team.
Firstly, show us the written plan. Can we have a look at it?
I don't know if it was indicated here, but I know we met with the Life Esidimeni and developed a plan that will start from May to June to take the patient from Life Esidimeni
Yes.
to our facility.
Can you help us get that plan?
Yes, I have got that plan. I have got a copy
You're going to
of
take
that
it out
plan.
there and make a copy of the plan, right?
Decanting plan, yes, I have.
Yes.
Yes, I
There was
have.
the plan that would manage how you're going to, if you like, distribute patients to different NGOs. Is that it?
How do I put it? There was a plan on how many patients must be moving per week to different NGOs that were authorized. So I have that plan. So when we had to take the patient to Cullinan, after Siabadinga was given 73 patients, the last number of patients were to go to Cullinan.
Let's go step by step. It's going to be a long journey, this. We have to use few words. It's going to be days, not 1 day. Can you find the plan?
The plan for the number of patients.
Yes, for how you were going to, you told us there were 1,700 and more patients
No, let me
at
put
Life Esidimeni.
during the task team, because during the task team, as we started,
Yeah, let's not use many words. You can say, no, the number was not 1,700. What was the number?
when we started, it was 1442.
Okay.
When we take
let's
them-
accept your number.
Yes,
And then show me the
1442.
plan, how you would have dealt with these patients to end up at licensed NGOs.
Yes, and I think I have a copy. It's just the only copy I have. That
We'll make a copy and we'll get it back to you.
Okay. It's just, Council, it's just to say this, because we have to meet with Life and agree. This is the copy that this patient will be moved in this pattern. The
Yes, we want to see the
1442.
plan.
Yes, this
Just
is the
give it
plan.
to
the authorized
my staff.
NGO.
Yeah.
Yes.
In my office, they'll make copies and they'll bring it back. And that plan was available to everybody who was involved in the process of,
Placement.
yes.
Yes, in the process of placement. Now it was the placing team, the NGO team, and Life Esidimeni. So the plan was indicated to say, this is the number you will take. But the placing team will decide to which NGO these patients are
Did
going
you tell
after
Life
they were.
Esidimeni about the plan and where patients would be taken to?
We were in a meeting with them. Then we developed the plan, and the team,
Did you
placing team.
tell them
Yes.
which patients would go to which NGO?
I believe the team that is there told them which NGO is going this patient. When the patient are leaving, some of them in the beginning, they even accompanied by the Life Esidimeni staff.
Their
They
CEO
were
was
told.
here and he says he was never told of even one NGO where these patients were to be taken to.
I don't know. That is not true because I've got the minutes that I had, and the manager who wrote the minutes.
Show us a minute
I've
which
got the
includes
minutes.
all the NGOs where you would take the patients to.
The minutes where we'll give to Life Esidimeni. I don't get
Life
it. So
Esidimeni says you never told them, never gave them a copy of the list of NGOs.
okay. Just these people, you know, the Dr. Mukata, although I didn't hear all what he said, at his level, and at my level, we're not down at the placing team. But the first meeting, I went and I met with the manager in both Life Esidimeni, Waverley, and the rest, and showed them the plan that we are removing this patient in this manner, and the placing team that are standing there, they know, they will tell you, this one are going to El Shaddai, this one are going to Kalinen, this one are going to where.
Show me
So
that plan
plan is
they
not-
used to do that.
No, I didn't have that plan they used with me. But what I know
Who
is
would have the plan? Who can give it to us?
the plan, I don't have the plan myself. Maybe in our laptop, but in my other laptop, but I don't have the plan. But the people, the placing team will be the one, because firstly, before we place, we assess the patient. The placing team had two roles. The other role was to assist the doctors that are assessing the patient. The second one, to ensure that the patient X goes to where he or she has to go, and to ensure that the transportation of that patient is okay.
It sounds
For 2
all
months.
so good, like it's all wrapped up well, Doctor.
No, Chief
And-
Justice, I
and
didn't
how-
wrap anything well. That's how it was.
Really?
Really, I said to you, I've got 5 DDs and 1 social worker. 2 of them were placed mostly in Tshwane to ensure
And
the
the
NGO.
patients were properly assessed
Yes.
by doctors.
Yes.
They were discharged and their records were taken along and they were given medication and they were taken to pre-known NGOs. Is that your evidence?
My evidence is not covering everything what you are saying, but the doctor assessed them. I've got evidence. I wrote the letter myself, wrote the letter to the board chairperson to ask the other 2 doctors who were serving at the mental review board to go and assist the Life Esidimeni doctors to assess the patient. Then they went. They assessed all the patients. The other doctor, Watala, was in Randfontein. The other doctor was in Waverley. And there were 2 teams of people from my office. Like I said in the beginning, that when the MEC pronounced, we knew that this is a work for us, my office. So the team were there. 2 teams were there. Mrs. Sinello and Dr. Lingwane were at Waverley, and they implemented this plan.
And they made sure that the patients are assessed,
Yes.
they are fit to be discharged, and they were going to be placed at a place that was known, and the patients were given necessary medication. They went along with their prescription records. Is that your evidence?
No, the 2 are not my evidence, because we struggled with the patient's record. We struggled with the patient's wheelchairs. We struggled with the patient clothing. We struggled with the patient medication. They phoned me and they were reporting to me every day by SMS or phone. When they said about the medication, I called myself, Dr. Mukacha, to say, Dr. Mukacha, you can't give 7 days medication, because according to SLA, it's 30 days when people are placed. And we must know that From May to June, we were not discharging, we were placing this patient. But throughout until April, they were still being discharged from Life Esidimeni. So the two people in each area, like in Randfontein, it was Miss Mashile and Miss F. Sinelo. They were ensuring that the right transport, they couldn't manage to ensure that they get all the clothes because it was not within their power. But the transport was, they couldn't manage about the medication because the medication that were given, it was with the way the Life Esidimeni will want.
You're throwing a lot of words at me, ma'am. I'm asking you very simple questions, and I wanted just to get precise answers. Were the patients moved with their medical records?
No, not all of them.
Were the patients moved with their medication?
Not for the whole month.
For how long?
There were patients who were moved with 7 days medication. And it was brought to my attention, I started to fight.
Did the patients know where they were going to be taken to?
Yes, the two DDs in each area were telling the patient. When I visited, some patients were even fighting to say, I must go first. They knew, they were told, but you must remember, Chief Justice, that we are talking about mentally ill patients. But they knew, because most of them had their own luggages, but the one that they had from their own family, those who can have family, but not the ones from Life Esidimeni. Life Esidimeni didn't give clothes. The patient were received with...
And it's also your evidence that their families knew all about where they were going to be taken to.
Chief Justice, I will say family who were available knew. Can I take you to the process how we invited the family? First, the MEC and the HOD invited a meeting at Waverley to meet the family, and the family raised their concern. We had a small 1 page to say families.
No, ma'am, I'm asking you about the actual transfer. Please don't take me to meetings before that. We have evidence about that.
All right.
There'll be many questions to be asked. I want to get a nutshell of your evidence. Nothing went wrong here. You identified the patients. You knew where you're going to take them to. The patients were told. They were given medication. And they were given whatever clothing was necessary. And they were taken in an orderly way with your DDGs there to specific NGOs. Is that your evidence?
Yes, although I cannot confirm the evidence in terms of all the family members of the patient, because like I said, over 700 patients didn't have families. And some, when we invite, there were roles. Role of the Life Esidimeni, role of the department. One of the role of Life Esidimeni was to inform their families where their patients are going. And the role, that was in our meeting, the role of ourselves was to inform the family when we received the patient. Because by that time when they were at Life Esidimeni, only Life Esidimeni had documentation of who this one is coming from and who is the family members. So we agreed in a meeting that the Life Esidimeni will inform the family that is living, and then when they reach our place, we'll inform the family that we received them. That's the plan. And I left it with my DDs and the managers of Life Esidimeni in both centers.
Counsel?
Justice, I note that it's now almost 4:10. I remember that Friday you made an announcement that you wanted to see us in chambers at 4. I'm not sure if it would be an opportune time to...
No, I think we should continue. Huh?
Thank you. Just to follow up on the families, you said that those family members who were there, they were aware that the patients were moving to the NGOs. Some family members were aware.
Some family members were aware.
What was the reason for the others not to be aware? Do you know?
There were 2 reasons when we met. You know, every project will have some challenge. There was a time when I got the report that Life Esidimeni's telephone are no longer functioning during the process. And I asked, because my my DD were in their facility for 2 and 1 week. They were not in the office, coming only on Monday for report. Then they said the lines are not functioning. We said, okay, let's get the names of those that have. We'll ask the Mental Health Review Board secretaries to phone the family. Then that was reported on Monday. The following day, it was reported back to me that the Life Esidimeni has got the lines, their telephone lines are now working.
Can I ask this question different? Did they approve of the project, of the move? The family members?
The family members?
Yes, did they approve of their family, of their relatives being moved to the NGOs from Life Esidimeni? Do you know?
I cannot say there is somewhere where they approved, but I will say we engaged the family throughout. They are agreed to form a family committee, and they also went with us to the NGO during the NGO marathon. Their committee went with us. But I must say, Council, throughout the process, we had a lot of challenges. The families were toy-toying, the families were influenced.
Yes, if they approved, why were they toy-toying?
Yeah, but I'm just saying that we got the family, but they were working together with us. So I cannot have reason why they were toy-toying. I cannot have that because department took a decision.
When did they begin to toy-toy?
Department took a decision to terminate, and the highest leadership met the
and
family
you were part
and
of that
explained.
decision, right?
I was told. I was informed.
No, you drafted the plan and signed it.
Yes, I managed the plan because
You were the deputy project leader.
Yes, I was the deputy project
Before
leader.
then, you were the project leader. Before Mr. Musinogi was appointed in September.
No, I was just the director for mental health services, meaning that I must oversee everything that happened into mental health services.
And you devised the plan and wrote it down.
Yes, from the beginning, yes, with my team.
And you were in charge of the implementation of the plan.
All of us, because we were giving the report to MEC every
In the pecking
week.
order, you were the one who was in charge of the implementation of the plan.
I would say my unit was in charge at that time.
No, ma'am.
Why should it be a personal person?
No, because you had the authority.
Okay.
Somebody, you have a structure. Remember the beginning?
Okay.
I asked you what the structure was, remember? Right
Okay.
at the beginning.
All right.
You were in charge of the implementation of this project. Is that right?
I was ensuring that things should go well
Many
in the
witnesses
project.
have come and told us that already,
All right.
including your own colleagues. And you are the one who gave orders on patients, for instance, to be taken from Randfontein to Cullinan. You gave those orders, right?
The termination project gave ordered. The orders was already there.
And you were
Judge.
that person who gave orders about the termination project.
I was supporting, yes, the termination
Who
project.
were you supporting?
The whole process.
But you were the head of the directorate
Yes, I was.
of mental health care.
Yes.
You know, it's going to help if we get fairly candid and serious. You know how many people died here because of the decisions you made.
No.
So we're there to probe and understand that. You can't spend the afternoon telling me everything was perfect. You were there, you made sure the records were available, you knew the patients, you knew where to take them to, they were given medication, and you made sure that their families know, their families agreed with you. Is that what happened? Is that why 143 people died?
With due respect, Justice, I didn't say everything was perfect. I mentioned that the treatment, I mentioned about the records, but I was just outlining the plan of what took place.
Now, the
That's what I
people
was
you
saying.
ordered to be spread around various NGOs died. You know that.
Yes, I know, Council. Justice, Chief
They
Justice.
lost their lives when they had lived long at Life Esidimeni facilities. You know that. I'm just cutting to the chase. There'll be a lot of detail that will be canvassed with. Do you think they died because you, the commander-in-chief, acted in every way properly? Is that what I should find?
In terms of death, Chief Justice, not only one reason can attain to a
No, I'm
death.
talking about your role. I say,
Yes.
should I find that your role was perfect?
No, I haven't said my role was perfect. I did indicate that not all what the six, you mentioned 6 things. I said the treatment, the clothing were not there, the wheelchairs, some were not there, and then there were issues that you didn't understand about the licenses. I never said they were 100% perfect.
You know, later these council are going to put to you inspection reports of these different places where you sent people to. And those reports continue to shock me. The inspection at Takalani, the inspection at Siabadinga, at Enkalife, at Precious Angel, at all of them, we have the inspection reports. And they are horrifying for human beings to live there. And this was the result of your decision to send them there. Why couldn't you stop that and make sure the conditions are fit for mental health care users?
Chief Justice, we did the evaluation, and I will say, when we did the evaluation, before the patient were placed there, the area was found to be suitable. There are reports on who went to the NGOs to do the evaluation. And at that time, they were suitable. And I didn't manage to go to each and every NGO where the patient were supposed to go, because we were working as a team, a project team that is presenting everything to the MEC. And there are records when they went and assessed the place. Then we placed. And thereafter, problems came up. And I haven't said there were no problems after we placed. But we're still talking about evaluation.
When people started dying, why didn't you intervene? You were the commander-in-chief. Why didn't you say stop? People are dying in large numbers.
Chief Justice, no patient died during transportation. My work until transportation, all the patients, the 144 except 4 who died at life, they arrived at the NGO with no death. And the death started after. And the first death that was reported to me was from Siabadinga. When I questioned the CEO about that, the following day she reported about that. And what I did, I went to the board. I said, board, help us more. I was so devastated as well by the death. Go there and assess what is the problem. They went, they wrote a report. And when these patients are still started, now we start to have problem with patient dying, we're still saying, they were still assessing the board and my team as well. Unfortunately, during the process, when the ombudsman came, everything was...
You ordered these patients to the destinations that they ended up at. You gave those instructions.
No.
Why don't you intervene? Firstly, why don't you regularly inspect the places to make sure they are fit for their habitation? And once things go back, why don't you intervene? There's a lot of detail in this thing, but I want to know that basic thing. Why didn't you get in there?
Basic thing was that we assessed. And there are NGOs that I even went over the weekend, because during the week there were a lot of work. I had to go on my weekend and assess. When the first patient died in Siabadinga and followed by the ones in Enka, I asked, there are letters that we sent. The board went to assess. I didn't fold my hands and say they are dying. I was concerned, and it was really traumatizing for me and hurt. I was hurt to learn that they are dying. But we transported them all with no problems, all of them with no problems. But when...
Dr. Manamela, it's not about transporting people that you did. It's about where you take them to, what care they receive, the conditions where you you have arranged for them. And then they start dying. Within the first month of their move, what did you do about that?
Yes, we didn't just let them Chief Justice to die. We started to check those areas. What is the problem? Why these patients are dying? We did that. And then there were, after placement, it was not only my unit that I will give instruction to, maybe as you were saying. There was also multidisciplinary team in each and every district that was going there to ensure that the NGO are in the good hands. If they are not, we have to move them. And then there were also a strategy that as we are going, we see that there are much more problems. We develop. I asked my team, because I only had power.
We have evidence here, ma'am. You know, these NGOs did not have doctors on site. They did not have what do you call them? Occupational therapists.
Yes.
Some did not have trained nurses. Some did not. I mean, we have all this evidence before us.
Yes.
And I had hoped that you will help us understand.
I'm trying.
How would you permit such a thing to happen?
We didn't permit it. Let me take you how the NGO are working in the province. You go to all our NGO, it doesn't mean that they will have a doctor. We gave each and every NGO a link of the clinic. When they are having problem, they are linked to a certain clinic. We have a copy where the patient will be taken care of. They are also linked to a certain hospital where when the patient needs admission, will go there. That's how the NGO process is working. No NGO that have got doctors. The doctors are coming and do the voluntary work. But we make sure that NGO, precious angels, you are linked to this NGO at Ridgeville. You anchor, you are linked to.
And
not
how long did you take to pay them?
What? The payment. Yeah, it took time to pay them. I must agree.
Why?
Okay, let me give you the reason. We didn't pay them in time. My office is not the one who is paying. I'm not shunting away the responsibility. We monitor if they are paid. And we realized that they will not be paid. Then we started to liaise with the unit that has to pay the NGO and find out what is the problem. And they indicated to us.
When all that happened, where do you think these patients are? And why do you remove them before you arrange for payment? What do you think they're going to eat?
Okay, how the NGOs are working.
No, just answer me and tell me, why did you transfer them before you made arrangements to protect their lives?
We met with the NGO, and they assured that they have funds. The NGO are not being paid fully by the department. They are subsidized.
Dr. Manamela, why did you not make arrangements for them to be paid on day one when they received patients?
We wrote a letter to finance from my unit, written by one of the DD, Ms. Nello, to ask that they be paid up front. But we never got a response because the NGO, the department rule is that you deliver and be paid late.
Did you care? What were they
Yes,
going to
we
eat?
cared.
For 4 months, what were they going to eat?
No, the 4 months, we cared. Let me tell you what we've done, Justice. I know it's not an easy thing. It was paining me as well. What we did, realizing the delays in this payment, because like I said, there were staff, there were relevant staff, professional nurses before, but when the delayed in payment arrived, some left. But what my unit did, because we put their interest, we organized with these NGOs, the NGOs that can assist them. There was one NGO that assisted, for example, Tsepong. We called all the NGOs that had patients to say, come to a meeting and let's understand how do you cope in this situation. And they told us. Then we organized some company that deals with balanced dietitians. And then she presented to them, and we said those who are having challenges can be given food and they will pay later. Then for clothing, because we knew that they came from Life Esidimeni with one pair of trouser and jacket, we organized with a company, I just know the name, Stevens, who came and say, I'll give you money, I'll give you clothing, tell me what you want. So we ensured that the clothing and the food are provided.
There we go again. You're now telling me that enough food, that enough
No.
clothing, there you're telling me again.
I was not feeding them, Chief Justice, but I'm telling you what I've done, because you asked me what I've done. Because I couldn't just fold hand.
But why did you authorize them to be moved when you had not arranged for them to be looked after properly?
The authorization was at the termination. It was not my authorization. There is no way I said I'm authorizing. Termination letter was the authorization. So we have to see to it they move. And when they are there, we have to see to it that they are covered, they've got clothes, they've got food. But how the NGO feed them, we're not there as that time. But we did all that we can, because we gave the person, we even wrote a letter, Chief Justice, to say, if you don't want to get meals from Masala dietitian who is offering to say, I'll support you, you can take this letter, that I signed that letter, and go to the shop next to you, let them give you food.
But
if you don't have.
Why did you expose these patients to these terrible circumstances before you made proper arrangements?
The arrangement was that they will be paid within 1 month. That was the arrangement. And the NGO that came, they were confirming that they will be able to carry on with food for the whole month and the clothing.
Now forget about the NGOs. Why did you, the commander-in-chief, take people and put their life at risk?
The contract was terminated. The contract was terminated. It was terminated, and I was just implementing, making sure that they go where we can reach them.
Counsel?
Thank you, Justice. Dr. Manamela?
It'll be okay to finish at 4:30, so there's some 10 minutes and we can adjourn.
Thank you, Justice. Dr. Manamela, the evidence that is before this arbitration is that the service level agreements were signed long after patients had been moved to the NGOs. Are you aware of that?
Yes, Counsel, I am.
And therefore, the NGOs could not have received payment earlier because the service level agreement was signed very late.
Not all of them. I know
I will
of
take you through to one of them, just to make a point. That will be file 6. Page 2106. That's the service level agreement in respect of precious angels. If you go to page, are you there? Are you on page 2106?
All right.
Are you there?
Yes.
Yes, that's the service level agreement for precious angels. And then the signature appears on page 2138.
Where is that with organizational provisions? 216, that with organizational provisions.
No, file number 6.
Okay. Yeah, it's file number 6.
Page 2106. 2106.
21, sorry.
Did you find it?
Yes.
Yes, that's a service level agreement in respect of precious angels that we have been referring to. Now, if you go to page 2138, that's where the signature appears. and it would seem like it was signed in Pretoria on the 16th of August 2016. Do you agree with that?
2136.
2138.
Okay.
That's where the signatures appear.
Yes, I see it.
Yes. Now, if you can just keep that file open and go to ELA 57 on the annexures. ELA 57 is a schedule that was prepared by the Ombud of the deaths. And if you look at Precious Angels, in July, 7 people died. In August, 8 people died. So when the agreement was signed, when the service level agreement was signed, already 15 people had died. And that was even before they received money from the department. Do you wish to comment?
Okay. In terms of service level agreement, that's why I requested Justice to just give you the way things unfold and the way things are happening. Can I be allowed to take you?
Yes,
to
I'm
that
sure you'll be allowed to
about-
that. But the tight point is this,
Yeah.
is that several people, the numbers given to you, died before the government gave these NGOs any money.
Yes.
And you indicated earlier on that you
And what's your
requested-
response to that? That's what council is putting to you. You may explain other things, but I think you must meet the question.
Yes, before they were given money, because like I indicated, the money part were not managed from my office. But if I take you through how the service level agreement that she asked me to open, how does it work? When the NGOs, we as the department, we work closely with the managers of the NGO and the staff. But the NGOs has got the board. So we call them to a meeting and explain, finance people explain how the SLA must be signed. Thereafter, they are given a copy to go and discuss with their board. So now they cannot, they didn't bring it in time. They brought it very late.
Ma'am.
But in principle, that's
Dr.
how it's
Maname.
working.
If I may interject,
Yeah, you can.
if there was a proper plan, service level agreements would have been signed before patients were placed. Not so.
I don't know.
And these
don't know
dates could have been prevented. Not so.
But it depends on some other third party, not us.
Coincidentally, Mrs. Masondo testified that she went there and there was no food. At Precious Angels. On the day she went there was no food.
I don't know. I was not with her. And I can't comment on that.
Precious Angels manager, Ms. Ngube, testified that even her car was repossessed because she was suffering a lot of financial constraint. She had to loan money from relatives. She survived on donations.
What do you say to that?
I've got nothing to say about that because I know that we were to give them subsidy, and then by that time the subsidy was not yet given.
But you
So
see, the cutting end of the question is, why did you, the operational commander-in-chief, allow people to go to NGOs when service level agreements had not been signed, and when they would get no money from yourselves?
the money,
Why would you expose patients to such obvious risk?
We are not working with only precious angels. And the money issue are not determined in my office. And how it goes through is that
No,
with
you
the
went out and
district.
commanded that people be put on
No.
trucks and buses
No.
and moved to other places.
No, Chief
I'm
Justice.
saying, why do you do that?
I don't agree that I
Before-
went out, Chief Justice. I don't agree because the termination was given. Already the termination letter was given, say we extend it by the 30th of June. And then when we met with the NGO, that's the plan that was within my directorate.
No,
that
you
I
made the
presented to you.
plan and signed the plan. And I say to you, why do you implement it when it's going to harm patients? That's my question.
The plan was
Yes,
not planned.
you have a PhD in
Yes.
psychiatric nursing. Why do you agree to take patients who need mental health care and put them in places which don't have even food because they don't have money from you?
At the beginning, Chief Justice, when these were assessed, it was assured that they've got money that can keep them for a month, they've got clothes, and when we realized they don't have, then we went out. And that termination was not my own termination. It was the departmental endeavor. So I was there to implement. So when we went to the NGO, we realized, we look at what can we do within our reach. And within my reach was to organize those people who can provide clothes.
No, but why do you do it in the first instance? That's my question.
No, the order was given, HOD. The termination
The
letter
order-
was given.
Who gave you the order?
The termination letter was given.
Who gave you the order to implement, to distribute mental health care patients the way you did? Was that your decision or was it somebody else's decision?
No, it was not my decision to terminate the project.
Whose decision was it?
It was the departmental decision. The HOD
No,
signs
who
the
in the
letter.
department? The department is big.
Okay, I will say
Who,
next.
who gave you, you say it's not your decision, who gave you instructions to take other human beings and then spread them around NGOs?
No, I don't know how to, maybe I may not answer that because the issue was not to spread them around the NGO. That's why we had NGO marathon to identify the NGO. And thereafter,
Yeah, but no, who made the decision?
to what? To terminate.
No,
Is
you've already told us we've done with termination. We saw it was signed by Dr. Silebanu, the termination letter. We've been there. And we saw the plan to place people was done by you. And I'm saying to you, who ordered you to place patients the way you did? Was it your decision or somebody else's decision?
It was a collective decision to place patient on the assessed NGO.
Who were part of that collective?
I was also part of the collective.
And who else?
And the doctors who assessed the patient were also part, and my team, and we were giving MEC and the executive meeting of the progress every day.
But you were...
Not every day, my apology, every week.
Who gave you instructions? No, was anybody who gave you instructions? To do the placements.
Yes, in the meeting, the MEC has indicated that we should have placed the patient by the end of June, because that's when the contract
Did the MEC
termination.
give you the instructions to take patients to facilities where no service level agreements had been signed?
No, we cannot say it. She said you must take them to facilities where no service level agreement was signed. And to start with, Chief Justice, the service level agreement are signed with the district, not with my office. I only take what they send to me to prepare their budget, and I look at that's why it was signed.
Could you have said, stop, I'm moving nobody until the facilities have their monthly resources? Could you have done that?
If that was allowed, I could have done that. But the other thing that
Allowed
maybe...
by whom?
by
allowed?
the executive of the department. But the other thing,
Who needed to allow that?
the MEC, because she's the one who extended the contract. We told her that we were not ready at that time. We said we are not ready, and she extended. If she extended, we should have stopped. But again, we look at those NGOs. We found that at that time, that's why they say the taste is in the pudding. At that time, we found the staff. My DDs went and found the staff members, and then they found the place suitable, only to realize later that there were problems. We never planned that anybody should lose his life. We never planned that.
Council?
Thanks, I'm not
We
sure.
never planned that anybody should lose his life. It might be an appropriate point to adjourn till tomorrow.
Thank you, Justice.
25 to... Dr. Manamela will resume tomorrow at 9:30 to continue to hear your evidence. There'll be cross-examination by 4 sets of advocates and a re-examination. And that will be tomorrow at 9:30. We're adjourned.